ask all of you at this time to please stand so we can recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We ask that anybody who would like to speak to please sign in at the entrance, and we'll make sure that everybody is heard. At this time, I'd like to call the roll. Ms. Braisley? Mr. DiAgostino? Chairman Hughes? One piece of housekeeping. This afternoon, I was emailed a letter, members of the board, which I sent to all of you, from the law office of Frederick Brewington, and we're going to make this letter a part of the official record of the commission. At this time, the letter speaks for itself. It's in the record. It's 10 pages long. Mr. Brewington, I expect to be here. He'll expound, I'm sure, on his thoughts. I spoke with Mr. Brewington about him being here. Michael Torrey.
Thank you very much. Mr. DiAgostino, I'm happy to hear that you're feeling better for this hearing. My name is Michael Torrey, and I've spoken at a bunch of successive hearings now. So some questions I had on information revealed on Tuesday. You said there was going to be a working meeting that the public will be able to attend. Is that correct? Please pause my time.
That is correct.
Okay, when is that meeting expected to be scheduled?
Tuesday at 10:30 here at Town Hall.
Next Tuesday?
Next Tuesday.
So that would be then the 17th at 10:30 a.m. There's going to be an open to the public working committee hearing with the commissioners and yourself and the stenographer and the consultant.
There'll be a work session at 10:30 on Tuesday. I'm not going to tell you who or who isn't going to be here.
Why not? We're paying for them. We as taxpayers are paying for them. We have a right to know who's going to be on our dole. How many expected, once this map or whatever is done from the working meeting is completed, how long can the public expect until it's introduced to an administrative calendar? How many hearings will there be once it has been?
I suspect the town board, once they get the final map, they'll review it and they'll set a schedule pretty quickly.
Okay, do you know how many minimal hearings the public will have in front of town board members?
It's the intent of the town of Hempstead, the town board, to comply with all federal and state statutes with regard to this.
Okay, and there is no date by which this process is expected to be finished?
Oh, I would suspect that it will be finished at some point in the next month or so, because the election process for 2023 will begin.
Okay. I would like to thank you very much for answering those questions. I'd like to say that this map is flawed in almost every way. The map that preceded it was flawed by only creating one majority-minority district. There are clearly enough residents of a protected class to create 3 majority-minority districts here in the town of Hempstead based on the changed demographics. This map is a joke. The fact that none of you guys respond to anything that anybody out here says at successive meetings on the record is also a joke. I want to point out that on the website, the maps are incredibly hard to use. I know that people can't actually scroll in to see where the district boundaries lie. And so I would ask that if there were a way that the materials on the website could be more accessible to the public, that be made possible. And, well, I guess that's everything I have for now. So I thank you very much.
Thank you. Alcina Gooseby, is that it? I apologize. It only says Goos.
Good evening. I just have one comment regarding,
Not to interrupt you, could you please give your full name and address, please?
sure, it's Alcina Gooseby, Hempstead, New York. Is that suffice? Okay. I'm aware that Uniondale is proposed to be taken away from Deputy Supervisor's Councilmatic District, and it's very upsetting to not only myself, but the residents who fought to have equal representation by a person of color. As you remember, there was the Gooseby versus Town of Hempstead lawsuit that was brought in 1988, and it took 11 years for that case to be won. It's very important that the residents be represented by a person who looks like them, who knows what's at stake, and continues to fight for them. I don't know how many people were here for Councilwoman Gooseby, Deputy Supervisor's annual Kwanzaa event. It was her 21st year, and the Uniondale High School show choir performed. A tape of that performance was sent to the chairman of the board of Carnegie Hall, who happens to be Robert F. Smith, the richest African American in the country. And the Uniondale show choir made history and performed at Carnegie Hall 2 days later. That's the kind of thing and the kind of show of talent, genius, that Dorothy Gooseby is known for and will continue to be known for. And I wanted to make that statement to make sure that we're not going to roll back the progress that was achieved in the Gooseby versus Town of Hempstead. And that's what I have to say.
Thank you. Barbara Hafner?
Hi, good evening. Barbara Hafner, West Hempstead. I really didn't come in here with any plan to speak, but as I sit here and I look at this map and I think about everything that's been going on politically in our country, and being very involved in things that I do with my union and workshops on anti-bias, I have to say that as a human being, as someone that I know needs to be able to understand and see people for who they are and what we can do for them, this map doesn't do it. And I just look at this and say, how can you justify this? You know, it's all about politics. It's not about the people that we're living with and around. And if we don't get this out of our head, we're in big trouble, real big trouble. You saw it in Washington, and now we're going to do it here in our own town. And it's got to stop somewhere. Why can't the town of Hempstead, the largest town in this United States, do the right thing and set an example for the rest of our country? Thank you.
Thank you. Alex Soberman?
Hi, good evening. Like Ms. Hafner, I did not come to this meeting with the intent of speaking, but after looking at this map, I have to echo the sentiments shown by the others that show that having one majority-minority district where there could be three, should be three, makes a lot of sense. One could say that America's spirit animal right now is the gerrymander. It certainly looks like it. We deserve better. We deserve a lot better. The town of Hempstead is not made up of, just the people who run it. It's made up of the people who live in it. We go to work, we do our jobs, we come home, and what we really want, we don't want more than just what we need. We need people who are responsive to our concerns, make sure that the potholes are filled in, make sure the traffic lights are working, make sure that people get what they need, make sure that, make sure that the town clerk can give us our parking passes. I know I pay for my parking pass every year, 2 parking passes, believe it or not. So we're trying to do our best. I think the town needs to do its best. We need to support it, and if we do not get the representation we need, then we will go to the ballot box, and if we can't get our taken care of there, then we will be happy to see you in court. Thank you.
Aubrey Phillips.
Good evening, Aubrey Phillips, Elmont. I'm not even sure where to start. The clock is going to be my guide. The maps on the internet are completely illegible. I'm amazed that in 2023, we don't actually have maps that people can zoom into and out of so that they can get a clear picture of where these lines connect and not connect. So that's just a technical observation. I don't know if I should be reasonably rational and speak about the fact that we do need those 3 majority-minority districts, because I'm not sure that anyone up there or anyone who has helped to draw these maps actually hear what people say. I find myself living in a town with 6 districts, I think it is, and those people that create this map really should be telling us why it is that in a town that has 6 districts, that there's only one democratically elected, or at least someone who is on paper a Democrat in the district. These I think are just the somewhat rational questions. I never thought that I would move to a community and find myself in a political circumstance in which minority rule governs. It does in the town of Hampstead and in the county of Nassau for sure. So I know that there are going to people are going to come up here who are much more articulate, much more intelligent than I am to speak to the numbers, to talk about the demographics. But the truth of the matter is that for me, and pardon the language, I'm not sure why I would want to lend my voice to a process that is relegated to essentially masturbation. You know, walking into the polling station and putting my dot for someone who I'm going to be voting for seem to have been relegated now to just an act of masturbation. It might feel good, but it sure as hell isn't going to get us any children. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul Jacobs. Paul Jacobs.
I'm going to have to spray the mic because nobody does that anymore. Pearl Jacobs, Uniondale. Welcome to Nassau County, Alabama. So I'm going to point my question towards Ms. Braisley, because maybe perhaps you can empathize, perhaps. I have a question. So what is the purpose of taking Uniondale's industrial and commercial area and putting it in District 2? So obviously, you heard what we said, that we said keep Uniondale whole, but I just know you don't care, and that's why it was done. But I pose this question: what is the purpose of taking Uniondale's industrial and commercial area and placing it in District 2?
What do I do with this? Okay. It's an excellent question. And Ms. Jacobs, I did not draw the maps. The maps were just sent to us. We're reviewing the maps and listening to your comments. My question about that was, because the point was all of the people that have to vote are still in one cluster. My question still is, why would you want one person to represent the people and someone else to represent the resources of the people? Doesn't quite make sense. So we are in the process of listening to you, but while we're listening, it does not mean that we're not looking at the maps and we're not reading and listening to your concerns. And when we have our working meeting as a group, we can discuss these things together. We haven't had a meeting as a group as of yet. But the maps were not drawn by the committee people that are sitting here. The maps were drawn by a company that was outsourced by the town. And now this is our opportunity as a town to look at what we have, listen to the constituents, and then make those decisions. So I agree with you, Ms. Jacobs.
Well, thank you. Thank you for replying. My answer to that is this map further disenfranchises an already disenfranchised community, okay? And my answer to that is these maps were drawn like that, and I know they get feedback from the council people and whoever's involved in overseeing this map. The answer to that is to remove Uniondale's tax revenue. That's the reason, to remove the money from Uniondale and to gerrymandering our funding for future tax revenue. That's exactly what this is about, to remove our tax revenue. It's all about money and power in this environment that we live here in Nassau County, the town of Hempstead, political prostitution. That's what it is. The politicians are prostituting themselves just to stay in office. And I just want to add a caveat to this. As the president of the Civic Association in Uniondale for many years, okay, I'm not here to fight for representation. I'm here to fight for fair lines for our community and to keep Uniondale whole. I much less care about who represents Uniondale as long as Uniondale is represented fairly and remains whole, because they can put Attila the Hun, okay, as representative of Uniondale, and they will still hear my voice. Thank you.
Thank you. Jacobs James.
Good evening. It's really James B. Jacobs, but they put my name backwards. Story of my life.
I
Story
apologize.
of my life. No love, no respect. And like my missus said, I'm here. I didn't plan to speak, but here's the thing. Just being a taxpayer over 30 years in Uniondale as a resident, I look at what you did at Lakeview. I look at what you did at Elmont. I look at what you did at Baldwin. I look at what you did at Hempstead and Uniondale. Where's the love? When I first moved out here over 30 years ago, they said Nassau County, the town of Hempstead, was welcome to all. But you constantly treat me like a second-class citizen. And sometimes you get tired of that. Therefore, I'm so thankful that the John Lewis bill was passed by the state of New York. And I pray that somebody take these people to court to show the unfairness of this. Because gerrymandering is all about a small minority ruling the control of a majority, that they have no political inclination to recruit, to respect, and anything of that nature. And my thing is that taxpayers, my dollars just agreeing at any other area, any other zip code. And I just want you to show me the same amount of respect that I give the county and to the town. And my wife did ask a good question, because if you look at that map for District 2, it says census designate Uniondale, but you keep pushing the other entity that I'm not going to call, but it rhymes with city, that because when it comes to marketing, for some reason or another, when you Google Uniondale, Hempstead, Bowen, there's always negative connotation. When you Google Levittown, Garden City, Salisbury, you get all these good reviews. I don't understand that. I mean, I do understand it, but I understand why it's done. You're constantly trying to devalue us as citizens, and I get tired of it. So please do the right thing. I hope they do bring a lawsuit to correct the matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Patty Jacobs, I'm sorry, Patty Harris.
Patty Harris of Uniondale. I've been in Uniondale since I was about 7 years old. Now I am 57, so I've been here a long time. As long as I can remember being in Uniondale as a kid, when we would used to cross lines, that the lines wasn't visible, that we was taught you can't cross over to Garden City. But now Garden City wants to take our commercial area. Now, the reason is because we are wealthy in our land. It's like it is when we were slaves. They take because they know that we know how to do what we have to do in order to live. So now that you want to take other areas and add it on to Garden City, because you already have the buildings over there saying it's Garden City when they are in Uniondale. Oak Street is Uniondale, but they have Garden City zip codes because of this so-called line that you're doing. Now that Uniondale is rising up, you can't do anything to us. Only thing you can do to us is try to move us out, but guess what? That's not working, because now we got so many people living in Uniondale that want to come to Uniondale, that want to come to Hempstead, that want to come to Roosevelt. You know why? Because we are a community that know how to rise. So I was, over the weekend, I was watching some movies about slavery, because this is what it reminds me of. It reminds me that taking from us is the only way that will make you more important in your area. So now that we are gathering with people who wants to see the minorities and our people of color to stay whole, and I appreciate that they come out in all races to help us further our way of moving to our dignity of having what we work for. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen Montalbano.
Karen Montalbano, Baldwin Civic Association Government Liaison. We appreciate the community has started to listen to some of the things we've wanted, people have asked for, like holding these hearings at this hour after work, providing feedback to those who can't come by doing things online, adding stuff online. So we're asking you to listen to our number one request for Baldwin, and that is to keep Baldwin whole. You divided us in half. Right now, we're 2 districts, but we're 1 zip code. We're 1 school district. We're 1 census-designated place. We want one voice for all, and that's not just the Baldwin Civic Association. You should have received a letter from the Baldwin Oaks Civic Association asking for that as well. We achieved that on the state level. The Skyline document you have posted online says cores of existing districts, cities, villages, and towns should be maintained. How is that maintained in that division? We're a diverse community with minorities. On the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, it puts the burden on local governments with records of discrimination to prove that certain voting changes won't harm voters of color before they go into effect, meaning voter dilution. Consider some of the other areas you could have included with us. South Hempstead, Freeport. Baldwin shares school districts, school students with them. We have Sani 2 goes into South Hempstead. We have Rockville Center going back and forth with the students, okay? Even Oceanside. You got to keep Baldwin whole. There's no reason for that division. Thank you.
Ronald McManus. Mr. McManus? Okay. Reggie Thompson? Mr. Thompson? Is it Rabbi Charles? Or Charles Rabbi? Oh, I'm sorry.
Good evening, everyone. It really was not my intention to speak at all this evening because I've been to so many redistricting meetings throughout last year. But it's shameful and a disgrace to know that this is 2023 and you still want to take us back to 1923. Do you know what happened? January 6, 1923? People of color worked very hard and they burnt the town down because someone of my color looked at someone who wasn't my color. So when Fred Brewington knows that I'm a fighter, when he comes here, I still will be fighting with him because whatever this map is, I haven't a clue. I live in the village of Hempstead. I can't even show you where my village is right now. Yes, I'm upset, I'm angry, and I'm mad, and I will be speaking to everyone that I know who may not look like me. All over the United States, I will be having conversations with my friends that live in other states so they will know what Nassau County is doing because it's a sin. It's a sin what's happening here. And many people who feel that we're not human beings, they need to know that we have rights and we're not going to continue to let this go on. And that's all I have to say. Think about what you're doing because the fight is beginning.
Thank you. Charles Robbie?
Charles Robbins, Roosevelt, New York. I'm here on the behalf of John Lewis. Now, John Lewis, for all his life, he fought for equal rights in this United States. Now, here we are, going to turn all of that around and just destroy what he have done. I understand why Uniondale is in place because it has that Coliseum there. I understand that. I understand that Uniondale is in place because there's money there. But you cannot pull wools over people's eyes today. Maybe you could do it in the 50s and the 60s, but now you got people that's educated, people that don't stand for what is right. And if you don't believe it, look around you. People's not taking things sitting down anymore. People are getting up and speaking out. As you can see at this moment, we are not here to push anybody around. We are here to not try. We are here for rights of others. We got children that's growing up. They're going to see that what we allow you guys to do, this map here, Daddy, why do you allow that? And I have to explain it. But I'm going to tell you something. That court date is very near. And when we get into court, I hope the judge understands what I understand. You just can't do things like this in 2023. Thank you.
Thank you. Felix Picacci.
Felix Picacci, Franklin Square. Since the last redistricting meeting on January 3rd, the town has yet to post information about the town's redistricting on its social media platforms, but continued to post information about the town's mulch fest ad nauseum. The town sent down an email regarding today's redistricting meeting, but it was titled, Hempstead Town Hosts Three Kings Celebration. The email contained 5 posts, and once again, the information regarding redistricting was put at the bottom of the email, preceded by the 4 other posts, which included the Three Kings Festival, the Mulch Fest, lacrosse, animal shelter, and then last, redistricting. The town cannot even afford to send a free email dedicated to this redistricting process. That speaks volumes. Drawing a map is hard. Sending an email is easy, and you can't even do that. So that shows where the management of this town is at. Keep people away at all costs. At the last meeting, the town attorney interrupted me, making a big deal about how the redistricting meeting was noticed on the front page of the website. If this is such a great place, why don't you just put the Mulch Fest there and don't put it on social media and put the redistricting on social media instead? The Mulch Fest was put on the front page too, with a big banner, but not the redistricting meeting. No banner for the redistricting meeting, because this is not important to you. It is said that the Redistricting Commission is listening to residents, but not only me, but I've been saying the same thing. Make residents aware of this, and you've done little. You've just paid lip service to it. This is sad. You can't send a free email for this by itself. That shows where your management's at. That shows you don't really want fair maps for people. You want to just railroad this, shove it down everyone's throat. Once again, you need to fix districts 2 and 3. Why does Franklin Square stick out in the pink area? I don't know. If you had a kid draw it, they would color pink until you reached the line, the number of residents, and then you would go to the next district. Here, you kind of went all over the place. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Margaret Marr.
Good evening. My name is Margaret Marr. I'm from Merrick, New York, obviously, New York. I just cannot believe that we're discussing this right now. From the fractured, disgraceful Republican Party in Washington that tries to win at all costs, to Nassau County sending George Santos to the Congress, is such a disgrace. I can't even believe it. I mean, I really am sick to my stomach. To then redistricting and putting forth lines that are not fair to everybody that lives in the areas is a disgrace. You should be learning from what happened or what is happening in Washington and who you sent to Washington to give you a clue to respect people, everybody. It doesn't matter what color. Respect people. Help them. It's a disgrace, and you should be ashamed of yourself if you cannot figure that out and do the right thing.
Liliana Polo.
Good evening. My name is Liliana Polo McKenna, and I'm a resident of Malvern, New York. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here today. I'm also a parent in the Malvern School District. First, I'd like to express deep concern about the process getting here, the lack of transparency, and the speed with which this is taking place. On December 29th, 2022 at 11 a.m., in the midst of a holiday week, public notice was posted on the Town of Hempstead website. It announced the proposed maps along with the meeting on January 3rd and the one tonight. It's mind-boggling to think that that was a reasonable amount of notice for such an important and consequential meeting for our communities. Furthermore, the accessibility issues that have been raised are stunning, with the current proposed maps being completely illegible. However, the existing maps, as posted on the website, are clear and legible, which demonstrates that there is the capacity to make legible maps for the website. Between the timeline and the accessibility, the inaccessible information, this process has all the markings of not only being undemocratic, but by design intended to have the least number of people involved. Secondly, as has been stated many times, 47% of the town of Hempstead is made up of people of color, and the town board should obviously more closely reflect that. Not only does the proposed redistricting ignore the need for a more representative town board, it deliberately separates communities with shared interests, shared resources, and shared experiences. As a resident of Malvern, and frankly, as a Latina, I'd like to propose a district that includes Malvern, Lakeview, Baldwin, Rockville Center, and Freeport, just as a gander at something that might be a little bit more fair. For example, Malvern and Lakeview share a school district. We're on PTAs together. We organize events together. We collaborate as neighbors, and we share a mutual investment in our children's education and in our community's future. These shared interests, the shared resources and experiences should drive these maps, not partisan strategizing. Without that, communities of color will continue to lack the voice we deserve, that our taxpayer dollars get us, that we deserve as human beings and citizens of these communities, and divided through these lines that really work against community interests. I also want to add that this isn't just about representation and communities of color. Representative leadership that is invested in what matters most to the communities that it serves benefits everyone.
Thank you. Darlene Allen. Darlene Allen. Diana Mann.
I really wasn't going to speak tonight, but listening to everybody, I'm basically ready to cry. I live in Baldwin. I have been here for 54 years, all right? And you are trying to separate our town. You're trying to separate all the towns and make them all together. I don't know what's going on that map. It's horrible. It's the most disgraceful map I have ever seen. And I have no idea why you are doing that. Oh, you do? I don't know why. This is so horrible, okay? Living where I live, and it's just been a wonderful, wonderful time. My kids were born here. They grew up, okay? I'm still living here. I go, and then I start to look at this map, and I'm saying, you're breaking up our town? Why? You're putting other towns together and mushing them up? This is not a way to be, okay? You cannot do this. This is the most horrible, horrible map I have ever seen.
Janet Paretsky. Janet Paretsky.
I'm from Baldwin. I want to talk about the ability to share power, that this is not a zero-sum game, that if my side gets something, then it's taken away from your side. It doesn't have to be that way. And when I think about it, what can I say? I'm Jewish. We have, even if we're not religious, we're imbued with the idea of repairing the world, and this is a world in disrepair. My grandparents immigrated to possibly to escape with their lives, but to escape oppression. So many of my Republican neighbors are 1 or 2 generations away from oppression in Europe. So I don't like to see people that I live with oppressed, and yet Republicans seem to feel, well, I got mine, and you're not getting yours, and that's what the map reflects. And I would say, and I said this the last time too, that yes, we're 47.5% people of color in Nassau County. I'm not one, but I'm a person and I feel for other people and I live among the most wonderful people. I'm very lucky. So we should have 3 majority, minority, Democratic. They might not be Democratic one year. Look, we had a big surprise this year. You guys got Congress, for what it's worth, and how wonderful that's going to be for everyone. But definitely majority, minority districts, and Baldwin should be made whole. We, particularly because we're unincorporated, we've been ignored. Supposedly, we're getting a large project that would be both residential and commercial. I'll believe it when I see it. Someone will decide, well, you know, let's put those funds elsewhere. Let's get, who knows? And certainly we'll have no choice in who the contractor is or the developer is. That's already been ceded away from us. So it's not a zero-sum game. You can live, Republicans, we Democrats can live. You can allow us to have a vote.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom Titman?
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I'm encouraged by all the people that have come out. As is my custom in some of the groups I belong to, I want to just do a land acknowledgement of our Native brothers and sisters that were here before we came onto this island. The Rockaways, the Merricks, the Massapequas. Yeah, so I'm sorry. Tom Titman, West Hempstead. There's a song I grew up with called For What It's Worth, and the song says, in the song lyrics, it's mostly saying hooray for our side. And I'm part of a number of groups that are trying to work towards unity. And I do this especially for our young people. We heard one woman mention the importance of children and finding ways to work together for their good. What kind of example is the largest township in the country giving to our young people when the divisive nature of our politics is constantly in social media and everywhere else that they look? We said at the beginning of our gathering that we're one nation indivisible. Well, as I remember, indivisible means you don't divide it up. And the town of Hempstead is multicultural. I mean, that's the beauty. When I look across the street, I live by GW Elementary School, and in the morning I see parents walking their children to school, and I see people with yarmulkes, turbans, saris, all this variety. And to me, it encourages me because I want to live somewhere. The other day, there was a beautiful rainbow in our town. It was end to end. And the rainbow was filled with those colors. So what I really like about this opportunity to talk is that we have this beautiful diversity of food and music and religion and political views. Let's use them together. Let's blend them together so that we can have a place where our children will want to come back to. They won't want to move away. And really, our political leaders had the opportunity to set the example and come to the table together. So I just encourage all of us to find ways to build unity rather than division. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is David Sweet. I've been in Uniondale for almost 40 years. And this is my first time coming here in a while. I wasn't aware of this redistricting, which I believe somebody had expressed before. I got this from an email from a friend about tonight. And then I heard Dorothy Gooseby speak on Saturday at an event and reinforced that. Most of what I had wanted to express have already been viewed already. One thing that I do agree with is that this seems like a modern political Tulsa happening again. And we don't need that. We just don't need that. And then when I hear about Dorothy Gooseby, who's been a friend to the Uniondale community for as long as I can remember, I have to ask myself, why? What is the benefit? And then, like anything else, you got to follow the money. And then I read over the weekend about this casino that is starting to happen right there at the hub, right there at Nassau Hub. And I said, there it is. That's why they want to do this. It's a very, I mean, that's the way politics works, isn't it? So I just wanted to put that out there, that when I saw that, I said, follow the money. Thank you.
Thank you. Monique Davis. Ms. Davis.
Good evening. My name is Monique Davis. I'm from Hempstead. I'm the secretary of the Hempstead branch of the NAACP, and unfortunately, the President Powell, she couldn't make it, but I'm here speaking on behalf of my Village of Hempstead people. Oh, hold on a second. Oh, yeah. And these preliminary maps, they appear to unjustly and disproportionately affect the communities of color and their dollars by dividing our power, which in turn affects who gets elected to advocate for our rights, our tax dollars, and our community needs. Besides this painstakingly long and confusing process that we have to endure to get to these maps that still need to be fixed, we must start putting people over politics, over political parties, and the town of Hempstead should and can do what's right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Janelle Phillips. Ms. Phillips.
Good evening. My name is Joanne Phillips. I'm with the NAACP of Hempstead. And my thing is this. A couple of years ago, we had a pandemic. And that pandemic was to get our attention from a higher power because he wasn't satisfied. He's not satisfied with what goes on down here. He walks among us, he talks to us through people that try to get us on the right track, but we don't listen. We do what we want to do. And we got to learn one thing. There's a higher power that's trying to get our attention. And he wants us to get it right. Because if you don't get it right down here, believe me, there's someplace else that you can go, and you don't want to go there. So you got to get it right down here. We got to have more love and affection and encourage each other. You're talking about our kids? Are we setting a good example for them? No, we are not. I have a 5-year-old who says, Nene, you didn't hit the right button. I said, oh, I didn't? Well, you got to learn to do the right thing. I said, you are so right. A baby can tell us technology that we don't even know. They come here from their mother's womb telling us how to work certain things, and we don't even listen to them. A babe, my daughter, my granddaughter, great-grands could make a better map. And you're going to hire someone else from the outside to come in and draw a line for you? You give it to a kid and let that kid draw the lines, and I guarantee you, they have black, white, green, yellow, red, and they have all the colors because they are colorblind. Have a good night.
Thank you. Doreen Davis. Miss Davis. Okay. Tamara Bailey. Tamara Bailey.
Sorry, it's okay. My name is Tamar Paoli Bailey. I'm representing Elmont and the Elmont Cultural Center. So Long Island has always been about lines, drawing lines. Redlining started in Long Island. So Long Island knows very well how to separate people. To this day, out of 291 communities in Long Island, Black people only live in majority of 11 to this day. 1 out of 10 people owned enslaved Africans on Long Island. Long Island has a long history of prejudice, and when you're looking at these maps, you can clearly see the prejudice. You can see the prejudice in the representation of the town, unfortunately. And this is not anything to get at the Republicans or the Democrats, because to be clear, I am upset at both parties because the Democrats could fight a little bit harder. Elmont has been redistricted into an area with Salisbury. I have never heard of Salisbury, and I'm pretty sure most people from Elmont has never heard of Salisbury. I don't even know where it is. I think I might have passed it on the Long Island Railroad. I don't know. So to put us with towns that we don't even know, we couldn't even point it out on a map, it's unfair. And then when you look closer at the demographics, Salisbury is only 1% Black. That doesn't make sense. And Uniondale, so in the newly proposed map, Elmont and Uniondale, North Valley Stream, it's within that map, and then majority white Republican upper middle class areas with the rest that is majority in that map. And like someone said earlier, it's like we're being represented for the resources, but nobody wants to hear the people that's actually from those areas, because you have the industrial area of Uniondale, you have the newly built arena in Elmont that people in Elmont fought against that we're not benefiting off of right now. We're just benefiting off of the rodents that came from them digging a hole into the ground. So I'm asking all of you that's on the committee, and I know, Ms. Brazeley, you are a fighter, and I know, and I trust and believe that you have the best interests of people of color, but I am disappointed at the town that they would have such an incompetent person making a map. So when making these maps, I just have to say one more thing. When making these maps, think about its competency of where school districts, school districts are not separated, but also cultural competency is something that's very important, especially in 2023. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul Boa, Paul Boa. Ms. Johnson.
Good evening. My name is Mimi Pierre Johnson. I'm telling you, I was so happy when I saw Fred Brewington and Michael Pernick come into the room, because I know you're going to speak to all the legal stuff, so I get a chance to say the personal stuff that sometimes people don't realize. So in 2013, right, one of the things that I was very happy about, I was so civically engaged and so happy. In Elmont, we had 9 civics that were 9 fantastic fighting civics for our community. Within this, and when we fought for this, for Elmont, I was so naive. I thought, oh, wow, I get a chance to participate in something called redistricting. I get a chance to participate in census, and now I can draw maps. Oh, this is really good. And we started talking, and something that I saw 10 years ago, 12 years ago, it wasn't like this. Everybody was just fighting for their own little personal blocks. But now we have such a diversity. In 10 years, such a diversity. Everybody's fighting. Belmore, oh my God, thank you so much. What that says is there's a trend that's changing. So what that map is trying to do sooner or later, it's not sustainable. So there's something that I thought about, and I'm glad I don't have to talk about the legal stuff, right? Garden City has a reputation of not having affordable housing. Fred Brewington, remember that lawsuit? They lost. So there is no affordable housing, there's no diversity as far as what we would like to see on Long Island. But now I'm in there. I think I should start going to those meetings. I think we should start being more and more inclusive, like this is what's happening right now, because that's what you're going to force to happen in a bad way. We're asking you to do it in a good way, in a good faith way. So I live in Elmont where there's an arena that doesn't benefit me. The people that live across the street from the, like Ms. Bailey just said, you know, they have garbage on their lawn. People are blocking their driveways. But guess what? Most of those people that come to the arena or Belmont racetrack, when they leave, we have to deal with it. So the town of Hempstead, you're responsible for our daily things. So sanitation. Every time I see a street sweeper, I take a picture of it because it's so elusive, right? But when I go to other towns, I can drive without dodging the potholes. Right now in Village Avenue, there are 2 big holes. I have to call the town to come and fill it up. Well, I'm tired of the filling up. I'm tired of fighting for what we should have, but we don't have. During the summer, 7th Avenue in Garden City is closed. I love it. I can't go there because I look weird there. But everybody's mingling together, drinking in the air, and this is the kind of life, that we are fighting for, but we're not getting. And the system stays in place to make sure that we don't have that kind of life, that we don't get the income. We work hard. This is the way you want the system? Okay, let's learn about it. We're here.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
But guess what? 3 minutes, I understand. And I want to respect that, but I only have this time. In another 10 years, I won't have it again. The people that we used to fight for 10 years ago, some have passed away. In Elmont, most of the civics, there's only 2 civics now that is actually active, 2.5. You know why? Because the fighters are tired. One of the saddest things I heard from a civic leader told me, Mimi, I'm so tired of making lemonade out of lemons. That's what's happening. You're wearing us down. So I say to the commission, you didn't draw this map, but the person that drew the map is the same person on the legislative level that said he didn't consider, on the legislative level, he didn't consider our testimonies. That's who drew your map here for the town. He didn't consider us. He said it. He did not consider us.
Thank you very
This map
much.
doesn't consider us. And I'm telling you, our mindset have changed. Our mindset have changed.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Bob Barker.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bob Barker, and I represent Elmont. I'm here to actually concur with most of the sayings here tonight in reference to the redistricting of the maps that's being posted. Elmont must remain whole. It's very important that we have Elmont is being transformed right now with the new UBS Arena and other stuff with the Belmont Racetrack, etc. But again, we don't receive any kind of entities in terms from these businesses. Again, this map should be revised, and we want to make sure that Elmont remains whole. Thank you.
Thank you. Emily Moore. Charles Oliver. I'm sorry. Okay.
closer, but it should at least be in the middle. But that's all right. My name is Dr. Emily Moore. I'm 81 years old. In high school, President Kennedy said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." I'm a citizen of the United States of America. I'm an African born in the United States. I'm 81 years old. I had the good fortune to meet some of the greatest leaders in this country, of all walks of life, all nationalities. And in high school in Freeport, I didn't have one black teacher from elementary school or high school. I attended Morgan State College. People said, "How are you going to go? How are you going to make it?" My mother said, "Do your best." My sister said, "Memorize the book. Don't count on no teacher to teach you." And my father said, "That black stuff ain't going to get you nothing but trouble." We, as citizens of the United States of America, pay federal, state, and local taxes. It's the responsibility of this government, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat in office. We pay. Everybody in here pay taxes. You cannot skip, because you won't have your house, your home, you won't have anything. And I know I have to pay mine. And I want to pay. I want to pay my fair share, because that's our responsibility as good citizens, as Americans. But we have a big responsibility. Dare to struggle, dare to win, no struggle, no victory. That's what I have on all my cards, and that's what I do. My key thing is working with children, letting them know life is what you make it. You be the best you can be, because you're the future. And it's up to you to read and write, education. When I was teaching kindergartners and at Ulysses Bynes Elementary School and in Roosevelt, anywhere, I teach the kids how to spell education. I come to school to get a good education so I can listen and learn and read and write. If I fall down, I can get back up. I teach bounce ball right and left hand. "Oh, Miss Moore, I could do better with my right hand." But you got 2 ears, 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 2 arms. You have to build up your whole body and your mind. Because in this world here, you have to be willing to understand it's up to us to be ambassadors, to be willing to make a difference wherever we go. And when I traveled all over the world, people say, "How are you going to do it?" Where it's a will, it's a way. My key thing is I use tennis as a vehicle for change and progress. I teach tennis, and I'm still doing it at 80 in Roosevelt Park. And the little kids, I have a good time with them because they just trying to be the best they can. It's up to us adults to start. They talked about loving and caring and sharing and being responsible and accountable. That's very important. You can, I keep up with the news. I mean, what went on in Washington last week? Insult. But the key thing about that map, it's not about that map. We, the people, have to be able to say, it's our country, it's our world. It's up to us to make a difference in this world. If I can go to college, and my mother went to the 3rd grade, and my father went to the 8th grade, and one came from South Carolina, the other came from Florida, under the worst conditions, and came to Long Island, and I was determined to make a difference in all my classes, in all my programs, and activities. I was fortunate to be involved in sports in a community where you work together and share and everything like that. So you have to, it's up to each one of us to be an advocate for freedom, justice, and equality. It can't be, I'm 81. I met Fannie Lou Hamer. I was on the boardwalk because I met Dr. King. I've been to jail, been to prison. Was an activist in the 60s. People say, "Oh, you went to jail, you're not going to be able to get a job." I said, if I don't make a change, we're not going to have no jobs. Stand-up president said, "You go up there to that demonstration at Morgan in Baltimore, Maryland, you're going to get put out of school." I said, first of all, I knew I had to get off campus because if I don't show up at night in the dorm, they can put me out of school. So I took 2 buses until my senior year. So I wouldn't get put out of school while I'm demonstrating. When I wasn't involved in activities, every weekend we went out around Baltimore demonstrating for freedom, justice, and equality. Most of the people was from Connecticut. Everybody. This is the last story I'm going to tell you. When I went to Glen Burnie, Maryland, students from Freeport High School that I went to was there. Know why we went to Glen Burnie, Maryland, and Baltimore, Maryland? Because they said they're going to kill Gwendolyn Richardson because she's an activist there. Here I'm in Baltimore, Maryland, Glen Burnie, Maryland. You look it up. So we went down there. I thought I was in another country. People said, "Oh, Emily, it rained." Bus loads came from everywhere. Every nationality was there. It started pouring down raining, and the white guy with me said, "Did God send the rain?" So, of course, he didn't want us to struggle. When we went back to the church, we realized a lot of people got beat up and people threw stuff at them. And I said, God sent the rain so we could have another day to fight for freedom, justice, and equality. I'm going to stop right here. But the thing is, life is what we make it. Nothing promised to us. But you're the reason why America is what it is. The people sitting right here. And it's up to us to make a difference.
Thank you. Charles Oliver.
Yes, Charles Oliver from Uniondale by the way of Roosevelt, New York. First thing I'd like to say, I'm a United States veteran. And in 1984, I went into the military to serve our country. The same thing I seen as I left to go fight for the United States, I'm seeing going on right here in our township. I've been here in Roosevelt and Uniondale for over 50 years. I'm 57 years old. But you have to be careful on how you guys treat people in their past because the same thing may come up in the future. And I say that to say what? That our leaders, we appoint you guys to represent us. And I'm going to say, if we can't change the people around us, which are you guys, we will change the people around us. Saying that if you can't do what we need you to do to fight for us, then we need to change you guys. So just be careful. And I say this, and I'm coming from my ancestors and from the people from the past. We have fought a long, hard road. I remember when, like they uttered before, we couldn't go to Garden City. We couldn't go to Merritt. The times are changing. The people are awakening. We need you guys to wake up and realize what we are saying to you guys, that we need y'all to fight for us or we will change you.
Thank you. Bernice Wallace. Ms. Wallace.
Good evening. My name is Bernice Wallace. I'm from Uniondale. I'm from the group of wasn't prepared to speak. I just had some questions, so I'm going to stick to my script. But I was listening to everybody. I didn't realize what this meeting was really all about. I came here in support of Dorothy Gooseby, the councilwoman, who has been a pillar of our community as far as long as I can remember. I mean, I talk to my kids and they say, "Oh yeah, Miss Gooseby, you know, she always shows up to all of the events and very supportive and just is very involved in our community." And it concerned me that her jurisdiction was going to be changed. And I said, how could you change her jurisdiction when she's an elected official and in the middle of the term, you're going to take away her jurisdiction and give it to someone else? That's not who we voted for. So that concerned me, and I also wanted to know, like, what bylaws existed that allow this to happen. And we should be alerted to what's going on, because that means that your vote doesn't count, and that's not what voting is. So that's what my concern was. And also, if she was going to be given to another jurisdiction, who's going to represent us? That was a big concern of mine. And as I'm listening to everyone also and learning about what this, knowing that this meeting was about redistricting, just on a personal note, if I was at work and I'm in charge of something, my boss would say, okay, Bernice, just you do this, you do this. So he would give me so to speak, he would give me the map. And I would, do the map. And if I did a map like that and I handed it in, he'd say, what is this? It's not acceptable. You expect me to go in front of everybody and give them this? I'm not going to have everybody ask me a million questions. This doesn't make sense. And for you guys to have this put out by whomever you hired, and this is representative of what you had to pay this person, and then they put you out there, they put you, on blast with this, okay, to have to face all these people with all these questions without you guys even saying, giving it back to them and saying, oh, no. Okay, so if that's not what you're doing, then there's a hidden agenda, okay? Because you wouldn't allow someone to put this out like that if there was something else to benefit that you don't think that we realize. But we do realize it because, as someone said previously before, follow the money. And if you want to break up Uniondale and give it to parts of Uniondale to other sections so that they get the money and the tax revenue and the resources, that's not going to work. We're not going to stand for that. And now that I know that this is kind of like what it's about, I've been here, a resident in Uniondale for over 30 years. All my children graduated from Uniondale School District. They're all well educated. They're all college graduates. They're all successful. And I want to make sure that that continues because I have grandchildren that are here. And I expect the same thing for them.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Janine Maynard.
Good evening. First, I'd like to say thank you to everyone who's here and all the wonderful things that are being said. Town of Hempstead really does have a lot of assets, and it's wonderful to be part of that community that will step up. I'm representing Uniondale, part of the Greater Uniondale Area Action Coalition, and the last two hearings I had spoken on the map and problems with labeling. Those labeling issues were corrected on the map in the second occasion, and in the paperwork it wasn't yet corrected. So it turned out that, we get half a solution and then a backslap. So I come here tonight saying I've experienced this map as half a solution and a backslap. You didn't divide us into more than 2 districts. However, by removing Deputy Supervisor Senior Councilwoman Gooseby from that area, you are definitely harming the voice and the unity of Uniondale. We've worked very hard to be a unified Uniondale. We fought different levels of the fight, and we expected our representatives to understand that. And what I see here in the separation of the residents, or the largest residential portion, from the largest commercial portion, and also one that has many of our intellectual and cultural assets. When you separate the people from those spaces, what are you doing? So I'm going to revisit some of what's going on. At the Nassau Hub, Senior Councilwoman was the co-chair of the Community Benefits Committee. She helped us have a voice and a stakeholder's position in being able to say what happened and what the hopes were of the community. What is the sense in removing her from that area and giving the other representative access to space that is not primarily residential, so you can't claim it's about the numbers of the people? And then you dip down, that little pink dip down over there is RXR Plaza. It is not residential. This is not about representing the voters. What are you doing? What are you doing when you separate people from their assets? all right? It's gone public. We know that there are moves to consider a casino there. We don't have all the facts, but darn it, we need our representation. It's time to do the right thing. Make us whole.
Thank you. Doris Sharp. Doris Sharp. Angela Martin. Tanya Carter.
Yeah, I'll take Tanya Carter's spot.
Could you give us your name and address, please?
My name is Andreas 13, and my address is 434 Nassau Road. Okay, so what I would like to say about this, I was asked to come here. I didn't feel like coming here because I got better things to do. All right, so I've been doing the African American News TV for 30 years. I started out with Public Enemy as a rapper. Now I'm an old rapper, and I'm tired. Now, I'm doing a movie called The Last B-Boy, and it's about the Roosevelt roller rink that you guys tore down and built Valdor Court. So we can start there. When you disenfranchise a community, I'm going to tell you what you as we used to call you town of apartheid. I'm going to tell you what you do when you disenfranchise people. Doing this movie about the Roosevelt roller rink, we had to do our research to make it as accurate as possible because we wanted to know why Dr. J, Eddie Murphy, Charlie Murphy, Public Enemy, Aaron Hall from God, Baby Jerry from Full Force, Howard Stern. We wanted to know what made Roosevelt create all these billion-dollar superstars. And it was the Roosevelt roller rink, and it was the parks, Centennial Park, St. Francis Street Park, and the Park Henry Street in Roosevelt Park, and all of the youth programs that were there. That's why you had all of those mega superstars come out of that community. So when you do something like this, you're killing all of the future people like that. So I'm going to document that, and we're going to also document what you did to St. Francis Street Park, which has been abandoned. First time I saw St. Francis Street Park, I saw Professor Griff, who was on the cover of Black Belt magazine in 1981, teaching Shaolin Temple martial arts classes in St. Francis Street Park. Right now, because of the way that you do our communities, it's padlocked. It's been padlocked for 30 years. So get it together, because when we who are creators and performers, we don't like wasting our time coming to these meetings for these apartheid racist moves that you do on communities of color. Now, you tell me how this movie is going to end. Because you guys are just here in town in Hempstead, but the planet Earth is watching you.
Well, my list has ended as far as people signing up, but I see Mr. Brewington is there, and we'll get to everybody. I'm sure you did. You just weren't on your list. Why don't you go now? Everybody will be heard.
Claudia Barecki from Merrick. The census found that 47% of the town of Hempstead are people of color, yet a commission comprised of 2 Republicans and 1 Democrat who only represents 17% of the town's population, while leading us to these racially discriminated maps meant to keep Republican incumbents in office and keep communities of color at bay. At the last hearing, I spoke of how these maps flagrantly violate the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which prohibits a redistricting plan that has a discriminatory purpose or effect. Maps that effectively deprive minority communities from having representation on the board obviously have a racially discriminatory effect. But now we have the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Act of New York, which was only passed last June of last year. It specifically prohibits impairing the ability of members of a protected class to elect candidates of their choice or to influence the outcome of elections. Violation is established if political subdivisions creates districts wherein candidates of electoral choices preferred by members of the protected class would usually be defeated, or voting patterns are racially polarized. And under the totality of circumstances, the ability of members of the protected class to elect candidates of their choice or to influence the outcome of elections is impaired. Placing Elmont in a district with Garden City does just that. The Voting Rights Act prohibits redistricting based on political or racial biases. The John R. Lewis Voting Act even more specifically rules that a town must allow the protected class to elect candidates of their choice or to influence the outcome of elections. If the town approves these proposed maps, it is in serious violation of both Voting Rights Acts. Fair alternative maps were provided to you. By creating 3 majority-minority districts, half the population of the town of Hempstead will have the chance to elect representatives to the board. It's not bad enough that my tax dollars went to draw only 1 set of maps, unlike they do 2 sets in the county. I again ask you to reject the tax-paid partisan maps proposed here and consider maps that fairly create 3 majority-minority districts as the 2023 census warrants.
Thank you. Danilo Archibald.
I don't think they're here.
Good evening, everybody. I really wasn't going to speak tonight. Truly an honor to be here. My name is Bishop Danilo Archibald, and I'm from Elmont. It's sad to see and hear each and every one of you tonight speak and talk in the manner that you're speaking about the gerrymandering and what's being done to all of us as people. And really what is exciting me that there are many diverse people of color here tonight saying the same thing, right? As I was sitting down and I heard the variety of people, men and women, getting up to talk, after this meeting is over, we all need to meet and get together with Mr. Brewington. And what we need to do is show people, and I think you're the town, the attorney for this situation here that's going on. I've been watching you, sir, and I got to tell you about yourself. You are rude, disrespectful, and condescending towards every man and woman that got up here and spoke, no matter what color they were. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. We ought to be able to get rid of you, take you out of your position, take you out of your seat, because it's our tax dollars that pay for people like you to sit up there. I'm just being straight up with you, bro. I'm a disabled veteran. I fought for this country. You understand? And I have every right to tell you what I'm telling you. You don't belong in that seat. You don't. I watched you just be condescending and sly in your facial and body language towards men and women as they got up here and talked and tried to tell you about how they felt. You have no right to do that. None whatsoever. Mimi, you're right. We're going up in Garden City. You want to put us over there? They're going to see me. They're going to see me, bruh. I'm that guy. I'm that guy. I'm going to walk up in your parks. Tell me to get out of Garden City. Tell me to get out of Garden City. Let's see how far we get. Fred, we're going to get together with you, everybody here. Let's get together. Black, brown, orange, green, yellow. Let's work with Mr. Brewington. and let's take you all to task. That's what we're going to do.
Will Foskey. Will Foskey. Mr. Foskey? Lamont Johnson.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lamont Johnson from Hempstead. I just want to say a few things. I'm not going to speak too much about the map, but I've been sitting here, I've been watching the audience of different people that speak, and I hear, you know, terminologies like minorities being put around, and when I'm listening, it sounds like I'm listening to people from 1963 instead of 2023. Everyone in this room has the ability to stand up. Everybody in this room has the ability to say something. You don't have to wait to be a part of a group to say something. You don't have to wait for an attorney that you may feel that is spectacular to speak before you. There's two types of courts. There's a court of public opinion, which this is a court of public opinion, people speak, but that really doesn't do much. So whatever you don't agree with, you have to get an attorney that's representing you to get what you want. That's the only way things change in the United States is by court. The civil rights movement, everything that happened in courtrooms. So this is great, the public opinion thing, but I want everybody to stop looking down on yourself. I mean, people sound like a bunch of oppressed people in a minority thing, and then you get happy because a few people that don't look like you are sitting here also. You pay the same taxes, probably more than anyone in this room. So start thinking a little more of yourselves. That's my message to everyone. Start thinking more of yourself and forget about the map, because what many of us do, we put boundaries on what we can do and who we are, okay? So stop, get out the box, tear down your own artificial lines. We have these own boundaries and lines that we allow people to use us. You know, just because you're a Democrat, just because you're a Republican, just because whatever you are doesn't make you a better person. And people fall into that. When you hear Republicans, people automatically think bad, but then they hear Democrat, they automatically think good. When the bottom line is, like the man said before, and he made a great point. He made one of the greatest points is the thing in Uniondale, it's not about black, brown, it's only about one thing, it's about green. And once you understand that, your vote is powerful, make it count, and don't let anybody take advantage of your vote, whether it's Democrat or Republican. And the people here, there's a lot of people here that are very great in their neighborhoods, they're doing great things, they're leaders, but stand up. You just don't have to wait for one person to stand up and speak for you. We all have the ability to stand up and do something. So do something for your people, do something for your community. Thank you.
Thank you. Emil Varani.
Emil Varani, Valley Stream. I just want to touch on some new points that I didn't get to last time, specifically hamlets. I wanted to emphasize the need to put Elmont and Valley Stream together, as well as making North Valley Stream whole, which is not done in the proposed map, and as well as making sure that Inwood residents are represented by a full 5 towns. And as many people know, the town of Hempstead handles their roads, sanitation, and they're already not represented by like-minded communities. And let's be frank, nobody comes out and votes in sanitation elections, so they don't have a voice there. And when it comes to the 5 towns, splitting up Woodmere and North Woodmere, especially when they have a common school district, does not make sense at all. And one of the good ways to make sure hamlets are fully represented is to make sure that the school districts are together. And while it may not be required by the law, it's something that will keep these communities together. And one of the case in points is, thank you, one of the case in points is that when the town of Hempstead IDA granted an unfair pilot tax abatement to Green Acres Mall, the residents of Valley Stream had no voice to speak out on the town council. And that was going to cost them over $6 million out of their school budget. And the only voice that they had was Nassau County legislator Carrier Salage, who fought against the town of Hempstead. And Valley Stream District 30 which was mostly affected, includes North Valley Stream, which you're splitting up in this proposed map. And that has residents that are predominantly people of color. And they didn't have a voice in the town council. And if they did, this would not have happened. And lastly, I would just like to touch on the point of the lack of transparency. I just checked all of the social media accounts, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, you name it. There's no posting on there. Also, the lack of public hearings, 2 hearings before the maps and 2 after, really shows that this process is a disgrace. In addition, the town of Hempstead always conveniently finds money to send out mailers right before the election to promote their favorite candidates. They never found money for the redistricting process. And also I'd like to say, as I understand it, is that at the next working meeting, the map makers won't be there. And I think that itself is a disgrace because they're paid by taxpayer money. And really goes to a shame that shows that the town of Hempstead didn't even follow Nassau County's process, and many people had complaints with that. And just not even following that standard really shows how this process was rigged from the start. And unfortunately, I feel the only remedy to fix this is through the courts. Thank you.
Thank you. Charlene Thompson.
Good evening. My name is Charlene Thompson. I'm an attorney by profession and have been a resident of Nassau County for 56 years. I've lived in Freeport, Roosevelt, Hempstead Village, Uniondale, and I currently reside in Baldwin. During that time, I've taken great pride in serving my community in many capacities. I've also had the pleasure of serving Nassau County government in what is now known as the Office of Community Development from 2002 until 2010, and the Incorporated Village of Hempstead as Commissioner of the Community Development Agency from 2018 to 2021. I have served under both Democratic and Republican administrations. I've had the unique opportunity to experience the interplay of local politics and government from both sides of the aisle. I've studied this interplay between local politics and our government systems and its impact on communities that have historically been disenfranchised by Nassau County, in Nassau County. As a member of the faculty of the Politics, Economics, and Law Department at SUNY Westbury, I also had the pleasure of teaching a course called The Politics of Race and Class. We examined the landmark case of Gooseby versus the Town Board of Hempstead, where the at-large voting system was found to have violated Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. The town was then required to adopt 6 single-member districts to be in compliance with the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. And today, I'm here to bear witness to what I've learned and hope what I have personally observed will shed light on these proceedings. Those in power will do whatever they can do to stay in power, most often at the expense of historically disenfranchised people. That warrants repeating. Those in power will do whatever they can to stay in power, most often at the expense of historically disenfranchised people. The 2020 census has confirmed that the town of Hempstead, as well as the county of Nassau, has become increasingly diverse. These demographic shifts within the county and the town show that racial, ethnic minorities make up a politically significant majority of the voting population in several legislative and councilmatic districts. We need only to look at the most recent countywide elections to see the significant impact of what has proven to be a key swing vote within these majority-minority communities. One of the main issues I have today is the fact that we have an outside entity trying to look at our communities. Everyone who knows from any part of the country or any part outside of Long Island knows Long Island is, and the town of Hempstead in Nassau County is unique in its composition and the individual personalities of our communities. You can't have someone outside coming in and tell us how to divide up our communities. I request just a few more seconds to make my final points. And so when these outside entities take a look at our communities, they don't understand cultural similarities, political similarity, racial similarities, and affinities that unite us as communities. And so when we turn to these proposed redistricting plan, on its face, we see that these communities have been carved up in what should be called the Incumbent Protection Plan. Communities with natural, geographic, social, cultural, and racial, as well as political alignments have been dismembered. We would ask that this commission make a greater effort to take these into account and look at the increasing diversity of the town and align the common interests of our communities when we redraw these final district maps. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you. Tammy Williams.
Well, it's good to be home. Tammy Williams, I'm representing the Cultural Center in Elmont. I had the pleasure of actually running for town council in 2015, so we know all about gerrymandering in Elmont. Because when you're standing on one side of the street and your neighbors can't even vote for you, and they actually went in the polls to vote for you, I said, well, welcome to gerrymandering. So 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and now we're here in 2023. So I pose a solution to the beautiful people in the room, and thank you so much for having us. So what do we do and what do we know? We know that the system is broken. We know the redistricting process is secretive, partisan, and politician-led. So how do we fix a broken system? And this is what I tell my students. We're going to create a solution. And we're all going to meet, and we're going to organize, and we're going to take the power away from the politicians. So, for example, we can look at California, Michigan, Montana, Ohio, Utah, and even here in New York State, which is the city of Syracuse, which has a citizen-led, nonpartisan redistricting model for best practices. So you say, Professor Tammy, well, how does that work? Well, it works like this. You have a 15-member, all-volunteer redistricting commission that will be tasked to follow the Constitution and the law. And that means drawing districts roughly equal in population, compacted, and adjacent respectfully to one another. That means communities like Valley Stream and Elmont, who share the same school districts. Duh, who didn't think of that? The whole process will be open to the public, participation, debate, the same way we're doing here. And where do we begin? Oh, wow, community organizer. Implement a ballot initiative. This is how you take the power away from the politicians. Direct democracy. We go and get our petition signed, right, when we run for office. Why not get a ballot initiative signed by the voters? So we'll take the anxiety out the room and say, okay, we're going to put it on the ballot in November. And this is what we'll do. To eliminate the status quo, we'll implement this new model, one that will create the balance of power between elected officials and citizens. So let's get to work. We're going to roll up our sleeves. We're going to enjoy this little process here. We'll take it to court, and we'll also safeguard our democracy for our future.
Thank you. Julie Perolis.
Hi, I'm Julie Perelis from Hewlett, and I have been here in the area for 23 years, and I'm going to be really brief because there are so many amazing speakers here, and I'm not one of them. But I just want to say that 5 towns really can't be divided in the way you've done it. We need to look at the similar lifestyles. We need to look at population density. We need to look at all these critical issues. And we can't be placed with the towns that you have done and broken us up into. And I just want to say, we're all looking at you. Our eyes are on you. I wanted to, one of the things that's really been very upsetting to me at this meeting is that you've heard all these speakers talk about all these critical issues, but we haven't heard from any of you. And one of the things that we haven't heard is that you haven't told us, why are we redistricting? And why have you made the decisions that you've made? There's an agenda here clearly, and we haven't heard from any of you about it. And I invite you, this is an opportunity for you to stand up here with us tonight and to tell us, why were these decisions made? What was the rationale and the thinking behind all of the many changes that you made? I invite you to do that. We would all be very, very appreciative.
Thank you. Emmy Funderburk? Patricia Milizio?
My name is Patricia Malizio. I'm from Merrick, and I need to tell you that this is not equity. This is not justice. This is not a democracy. And how dare you try to pull it over as that? And that needs to be changed.
Sir?
You know, I really wasn't going to say anything. Good evening. This is not the decision makers, y'all. So don't attack them. Okay, they're the middleman. Okay, that's who they are. But what I wanted to say is, we come up here, they make us say the pledge, right? With liberty and justice for who? For who? For all. So where is the liberty? And where is the justice? And then we sing, oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave, or the land of the free and the home of the free. Right. So, I mean, where is that? Why do they make us do that if they're not going to enforce that? You know, I mean, that's not unity right there. That's not freedom right there. And we have to know who to attack. And it's not these people up here. They're the ears. They're the ears. They're going back because they're not elected officials. Right? Just remember that. They are not elected officials. Now, just think that some of y'all need to know that because I'm hearing the anger. But these are not the people you should be angry at. They're here to get your information. That's what they're here for. That's what they're here for. That's why this man records. That's why I'm live streaming, and they may be live streaming there. To take the information back to the people that actually make the decision. Okay. Don't get mad at me. Don't get mad at me. I just want the anger and the energy to be directed at the right people. That's all.
Would you please?
Dave. These are not the people. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Sir. Your name for the record?
Antonio Kelly.
Thank you. Lisa Ortiz. Miss Ortiz? Mita Meriday? Miss Meriday? Michael Pernick. Sorry. Michael, hold on a second. I'm sorry.
All right, I'll accept your apology for now. Antonio's point, and it was just reminded me, tomorrow, 10:30, Town of Hempstead, the elected officials are here. So carry it over, bring it back. You know, like I said at another meeting, pack up the babies, the seniors, the lunch, show up. And stand up. I'm sorry? Stream it. You're on my time now, sugar. Okay? Because I'm working now and caregiving and advocating for veterans, and I still make it happen. So if you can't show up, write it. Okay? Because just today, I just sent a letter off to the governor, and I CC'd the Attorney General earlier today. In the midst of caregiving, okay, writing, as the brother said earlier, I am a product of the Roosevelt School District, proud Rough Rider. And one of the reasons that I got into the media, because I was 7 years old, we had a teacher strike. And WABC sent a news crew out to the school, and when we saw the program on the news, 7 o'clock news, WABC, the reporter stood in front of my elementary school and said, "From this poor pocket of suburbia, I come to tell you a story. I never grew up in a poor pocket of anything. I'm a proud product of that wonderful square mile known as Roosevelt, New York." Now I live in Baldwin, but I call myself a resident of a community of underserved. I'm a 9/11 first responder. Don't ask me why I went down there, but I was there, okay? Got the wristband to show all of my conditions. I stand on the forefathers, that the brother that spoke about Native Americans. I come from Cherokee, Apache, wherever, in the Sequoias, from South Carolina, South Dakota. We had to get around. African Americans and Native Americans, okay, had to work together. We had to work together. And then we also have, again, the diversity in this room is substantial, but it's important, again, as Antonio said. Don't fight the middleman. Go to the top. Go to the top. We are going to court. I'm not wasting any more energy talking about this map. Nassau County's maps are going to be at the county ledge December 17th, again in the daytime. To the sister right here, because if we want to take it in the back, we could have it here. They do it in the daytime by design. It's January 17th? Okay. Well, they're meeting. They're doing something they're doing something this month, Fred. I'm just telling you. I said December because, you know, that's my month. I get it. January 17th. Be there or be square, or hey, we're going to court. That's a given. But it's how we're going to be represented, not only in that courtroom from the town of Hempstead, but also from Nassau County. It starts here. And everybody's saying organizing, show up. Okay? I know the people in the room. I know the fighters in the room. We were fighting 10 years ago. Okay? To get our feelings hurt. So this is not the time to be divisive. We have to work together. We have to work collectively. We got to work smart. And I'm going to wrap it up because, you know, I've almost been thrown out of this chamber twice, Nassau County a couple of times, but it's all good. I just want to salute again. I am glad to know that that young man that almost died on a football field, okay, DeMar Hamlin, is safely home back in Buffalo. He is back in New York State. Lastly, there was an African-American woman fully credentialed, the clerk of the House of Representatives, Cheryl Johnson, who held the gavel of this country through 15 votes of foolishness that went around the world. She was African-American. Okay, she's got a law degree from Howard University, a distinguished historically black college. Okay, so don't tell me that my people, collectively, my people should not have a voice and a vote. But now it's time for all of you to use your voice and your vote. And if you can't be there, show up somehow. Stop making excuses. Make it happen. Thank you and good night.
Thank you. Michael Pernick.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Michael Pernick. I'm an attorney with the Legal Defense Fund, where I specialize in voting rights and redistricting. Thank you. I also, in my personal capacity, served on and still serve on the Nassau County Temporary Districting Advisory Committee. But I'm here today to talk to you about a letter that my organization, the Legal Defense Fund, in partnership with my colleague Fred Brewington, civil rights attorney Randolph McLaughlin, and my friends and colleagues at Latino Justice, submitted to you all earlier today. It was a 10-page letter that walked through the law of redistricting, and it walked through our assessment of this proposal that you have on the screen before us today. And I'll tell you the key takeaway from that letter. This proposal risks violating the law. It risks violating the Federal Voting Rights Act of 1965. It risks violating the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Act of New York State, which is new legislation that we just passed last year. Now, there are a lot of issues that I could talk about. I only have a couple of minutes, so I'm going to focus on the cracking of the Black and Latino communities in Elmont and Valley Stream. Here's what the law requires. Under the federal and the state Voting Rights Act, the town of Hempstead is required has an affirmative obligation to ensure that communities of color have an equal opportunity to participate and elect candidates of choice. And the law lays out a series of tests and questions that it'll examine to determine whether that obligation has been met. Now, the law tells us that in a town like Hempstead, which we know has had a history of racially polarized voting, which we know has had a history of violating the Voting Rights Act, there is a particularly important obligation to ensure that the map that's passed doesn't dilute communities of color. Now, how could a map dilute a community of color? One way is through something called cracking. Cracking is when there's a community, a Black or Latino community, that might be big enough to elect a candidate of choice, but that community is fractured in two, so that voters in that community are denied an opportunity to elect any representative to the local government. And that's precisely what's happening in Valley Stream and Elmont. Black and Latino voters in Elmont are paired with white voters in Garden City, in Salisbury, in New Hyde Park. Black and Latino voters in Valley Stream are paired with white voters in communities like Franklin Square, Woodmere, Lawrence. As a result, the Black and Latino voters in the Valley Stream Elmont community are denied that opportunity to elect candidates of their choice. And we know it doesn't have to be this way, because maps have been submitted, and in our letter we provided 2 more maps that demonstrate that it's easy to draw a plan that unifies Valley Stream and Elmont, to draw a plan that has better population equality. I only have 1 more minute. May I finish up? Thank you. Draw a plan that has better population equality, that is more compact, that does a better job of preserving political subdivisions and hamlets than this proposal. So it doesn't have to be this way. It's possible to do better, to provide the Black and Latino voters in Elmont and Valley Stream with that opportunity to elect a candidate of choice, and also do a better job of meeting all of the other criteria under state law. Now, I'll wrap up by pointing out we have had dramatic demographic shifts here in the town of Hempstead over the last 10 years. Hempstead's white population has fallen dramatically. 10 years ago, it was 68%. Now it's 53%. Communities of color have grown. Now Hempstead is 38.5% Black and Latino. So we have 53% white, 38.5% Black and Latino. But we only have 1 district in which Black and Latino voters can elect a candidate of their choice. That's just 16%. But 5 districts where white voters would still be in a majority. That's 83% of the seats. And this plan risks perpetuating that severe underrepresentation of Black and Latino communities. So you have an opportunity to not only prevent unnecessary litigation, we don't want to have to go into court. Hopefully we can resolve it in this process. You have an opportunity to prevent litigation and an opportunity to do the right thing. And I'm happy to be a resource to help you do that. Thank you.
Mr. Pernick, so you know that when I received your letter today, it was emailed to all the members of the committee. When we opened up the committee meeting today, we made it a part of the record, and they were giving copies for their.
Excellent. Thank you very much for doing that. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Fred Brewington.
Good evening, everybody. No justice? No justice? No justice? if you expect to have peace in this house, we need to do something about what's up on that screen up there. That thing. Because I heard somebody mention that their grandchild could do a better job on a computer. Who said that? You said that? Tell your grandchild, come on, let's sit down and talk. My brother Michael Pernick spoke eloquently about the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Act of New York State, which, by the way, does something for all of us in this room. It takes the Voting Rights Act of 1965 that has been gutted over the years and gives us all the tools that we need to try and right the wrongs that are attempted to be done by that map. And my concern here is that part of the process that you should be engaged in as commissioners, they're not elected officials, they are appointed, and they're here to help collect information and educate the community. There is no education going on with regard to the community. So my request is going to be that what you made part of the record, that being this letter coming from LDF, Legal Defense Fund, NAACP Legal Defense Fund, myself, my brother Randall Scott McLaughlin, and Latino Justice, that you not only make it part of the record, that you put it up on your website so everybody can read it. And that is a specific request, because if you want transparency and you want to tell folks about what this process is that's supposed to happen every 10 years, that's why it happens, redistricting must take place. But it must take place in a way that is legal and respectful to the communities that are most affected. And in this situation, it is the black and brown communities of Nassau County and Hempstead. There's no question about that. But what this map represents is something, and I'm going to use whatever time I have left to talk a little bit about a big concern. Uniondale should not be treated as a volleyball. When the colonialism of Africa took place, they took diamonds and they took oil, they took national resources. When South Africa tried to put people in Bantustans, people rose up to fight against injustice. South America, corporations went in, and is anybody that signed up that wants to give me their time?
I'm Chris Wright from Rope Lane in Levittown, and I yield my friend Fred Brewington my time.
Thank you, Chris.
Well, we're not going to allow anybody to yield their time, but as the last time, Mr. Brewington, we gave you a lot more time, and we'll do the same here.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I don't know what the rules are.
Just be respectful of the fact that it's usually 3 minutes.
Printed. When the rainforests of South Africa were, South America were raped, it was for economic gain. We saw that in a number of places where we see colonialism and those type of actions taking place. I want to speak truth to power right now, and I'm hoping that some of the people that are town board members are listening in to this, because they should understand that we have learned the lesson that when you take away the Coliseum and Rexon and all those things, when nobody even lives there, the reason is because you're plotting and planning ahead to take bread, water, and food out of the mouths of our children. So I say this without getting into a lot more. Put it back. Put it back. Put it back before you have a next meeting, which I know is tomorrow. Tell your consultants, I'm going to be finished in a minute and a half, and I promise I'll sit down. Tell your people that you're contracted with not to steal from our children. Tell them that they need to fix it and not do some political gerrymandering so that other people can benefit at our expense. I don't need to talk about the legal stuff that's going to come down. I'm sure hoping we don't have to, but if anybody in here would like to be a plaintiff, see me before you go and I will write your name down. I don't care if you're red, white, black, white, polka dot, lottie-dottie, and everybody. If you want to be a plaintiff in this case, let our communities unite. And say that when my boat sinks, all boats sink. But when there's a high tide and all boats are solid, all boats rise. Let's do it together. And I say that, and I'm going to sit down in 15 seconds, because Pastor Archibald made it very clear. This is a time when people of good conscience and pure heart can come together to make a difference in a time when we know historically people have been stepped on. If we want to make it right, don't do it with our mouths. Do it with our actions. And now is the time for action. Brothers and sisters, I thank you for your time. Please put this on your website so that people can read it. Will that take place? Can somebody tell me?
Thank you, Mr. Burlington. We take everything into consideration that we hear here today.
Okay, well, I appreciate that, but if it is not going to be put on the website, would you just tell people? Because otherwise we can find a different way of getting it out to the community. If you're going to do that, then we don't need to duplicate that work. And I know that the authority is here because you're the commissioners. You control that. Please make a decision before you leave. Caucus, we'll take 5 minutes, and tell us that you will put this information that we gave you in a 10-page letter on your website so that everybody from the grandchildren to the grandparents have a chance to make sure that your job as commissioners to educate the community, it's part of your job, right, takes place.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yolanda Greer.
I have a question of Mr. Brewington, from my understanding. And I'm a bit confused about a comment that's made a couple of times, and you went into it. I think what you're saying is that what you refer to as the separation of the economics from the people of Uniondale is somehow intended to draw money away from that community. And I'm a little confused by what you said.
I appreciate you giving me more time to explain, because I don't want you to be confused. I want you to be clear.
Thank you.
And that's
Let me ask the question.
I thought you did.
No, I didn't.
Okay, go ahead.
The school district lines remain the same. The source of taxation, and you mentioned the children, and the schools naturally educate the children. The school district lines remain the same, so the taxing unit, at least for school taxes, remains the same, and that's between 60–65% of the tax burden. Now, as far as the general taxes, I'm unaware, and maybe you can educate me, as to how those taxes would be changed. But what I'm not understanding, and I'm not saying that, and I read about the casino in Newsday this weekend, and I was a little surprised myself. But I don't understand how whatever revenue is being garnered and going to the school district and going into the community, how that changes with election districts. And I would like somebody to explain it to me, because the money still follows the same track as far as I know.
Well, one of the good things is that if you educate yourself, you're prepared for double talk. And I want to be real clear. that you talked about tax base with regard to schools and general taxes. This is not about that money. It's about the power and authority who makes decisions, because right now Dorothy Gooseby is the one that has the say with regard to that area. She's the one that stood up with folks to make sure that it didn't become that fiction called East Garden City. So when you, and there is no good faith reason for excising that out of her district except for the power, control, and authority that will come with the resources that are going to be there. That's why I started out with blood diamonds. That's why I started out, if you don't know what blood diamonds are, please just check it out. That's why I started talking about resources and oil. It's not just about the money and the taxes that come into the district, that being the school district and the general taxes. It's about the control and the say of what happens in that area, what happens with jobs, what happens with other resources, what happens with businesses. Because Dorothy Gooseby, or whoever follows Dorothy Gooseby, when she makes a decision that that's going to be the case, will have the ability to stand up and advocate for the communities. Right now, Uniondale is cut out. And the person that would be in that position is not representing Uniondale. They're representing Garden City and other folks that don't have anything to do with the fight that has been taking on for over 15 years. There's been an attempt for a land grab. And that land grab, this is an opportunity. We see what is happening. And you can't say, well, it's not affecting the taxes. It's not, that's the double talk. You don't have to try and impress me. My issue
I think you misunderstand my question.
Let me finish. My issue with that is that by asking that question, you're misleading these people. Because because what you did, asking that question, if you're puzzled, the reason that's a problematic question is because the reality of that control, that land grab, can't be justified any other way except for the power, authority, and control that it brings from a financial standpoint. And we got to speak truth. Truth is what's going to set us free, not double talk.
Well, I don't think my question was double talk. I still don't understand how at least as to 65, 60, 70%, whatever the proportion of school taxes that comes out of, and by the way, I agree that there is no such place as East Garden City, that it's Uniondale. And I was here when the demonstrations occurred on that, and I agree with that. However, the decisions that are made with respect to the tax revenues, at least the real estate tax revenues, and whatever the number is, in most districts it's somewhere between 60 and 65%. Those decisions are made by the school board, not by Dorothy Gooseby. However, I agree with you to the extent that there are people that people would like to have represented. And I understand that. I just didn't understand the economics. And that's the only question that I raised. But I thank you for your response.
Thank you for your response. The next speaker is Yolanda Greer. No, Yolanda Greer is the next speaker. Yolanda Greer is the next speaker, please. Ms. Greer? Okay. Timothy Bishop. Timothy Bishop. Is Mr. Bishop here? Clarion Griffin? Is Mr. Griffin here? Mr. Bishop here, thank you.
Good evening.
Your name, please.
Good evening. It's Mrs. Clarona Griffith. First of all, before I get started, you didn't mention fire taxes, so I definitely want to, put that out there to you. And also, no disrespect, I don't think you should be referring to us as you people, okay? It's not what you say, it's how you said it, and you said it wrong. So let me just clear that up before you say you people. That's very prejudiced of you. As I move on, I would definitely like to address certain things. I used to be the president of the Hempstead Chamber of Commerce. Now I'm Hempstead Village trustee. But however, you talk about it's not going to affect us by not having Senior Councilwoman Deputy Goolsbee, Supervisor Goolsbee. It does affect us because when you're sitting on the phone and you're listening to them in the middle of COVID talk about, you know, what they're going to do to help the community in terms of looking out for the larger businesses like Roosevelt Field. And I sat on this phone during COVID, and I'm telling them that, you know, Uniondale have issues too. They didn't care about the small business. They said it's no big deal. We have to worry about Roosevelt Field. These are the things that happen when we don't have representation. They don't pay attention to the smaller businesses. They don't pay attention to us. Okay, so these are the reason why we need people like Senior Counsel Dorothy Goolsbee, deputies, to actually represent us. Because when we have people like you who say, you people, you're the same person on the line that's going to turn around and say that we don't need anybody to worry about the small businesses. We don't need nobody to worry about our children. We don't need anybody to worry about our, you know, fire department. These are the things that you tend to leave out. That's why it's important to have the right type of representation. We've been coming to this meeting nonstop talking about the fact that what you guys like to do is to actually crack everything up, separate it, divide it, and then put everything in your favor. And tonight, this is just what we're talking about. We've been coming to meeting nonstop asking you guys to make sure that this does not happen. But obviously, it's happening. And you sit there and you don't understand what's going on. Perhaps you need to ask Mr. Brewington to give you a class on what is going to be at stake. Because maybe you're the one that's not understanding what it is that we're going to have to deal with. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Timothy Bishop. I am a former resident of Hempstead, and now I live in Baldwin. But I'm a classroom teacher for 27 plus years. Now, my concern of watching this being live streamed, get in the car, bring my wife who's a Uniondale school teacher. Our investment is to make sure that all children succeed with the mindset that we are all human first. The segmentation of race, gender, any classification other than human needs to be sincerely considered as all of you speak here. Because the children, that mindset is changing. What is coming if you do not take the time to nurture those from pre-K up, to have the mindset for our communities to be better and stable, all will be lost. You guys are the foundation. Your children are learning from you. So what you say needs to be more thoughtful, because we come from an era where you guys are segmenting from the younger generation, and all of Long Island is going to be lost because our children won't be able to live here, and some of our children won't want to live here. And Hempstead has to understand, and all surrounding towns, if I do well, you do well. We all do well. And you really have to think before you speak, because life passes by in the blink of an eye. And when I'm in that classroom and I'm working with everybody's children, even the ones that aren't in my class, I have 100% success rate with reading, math, science, social studies, everything, every subject. They came to school because they understand, I just don't want you to do well in a state exam. I want you to be doing well, mind, body, and spirit. So it saddens me and it almost sickens me sometimes when you guys are elders. We are elders. We must, as the teacher, help the student become the teacher, then the master. And when I say master, I don't mean owner. I mean master of success, of what can be, so they can substantiate and make a solid ground of success so they can live. Because they are going to take this torch and they're going to move forth. Because a lot of you that I see here, I remember every single one of you. And when I'm in the class speaking to the students, I make sure that I acknowledge your position, your effort, your care, and your concern. So please be more considerate with what you are doing. And I will make sure that I get our students from younger grades up to be part of this so they can help build our support, our success, so we can make the changes and do the things that we need so we can get the things that we want. Thank you.
Thank you. We don't have anyone else on our list. Is there anyone that wishes to speak?
Hi, my name is Mariano Ugalde. I'm the president of the Uniondale Chamber of Commerce. I really can't afford to be here because I have to be at CBS News in the morning, but here I am. So I just wanted to say that a lot of people covered a lot of the ground here necessary, so there isn't a lot else that I could say that hasn't been said already, other than the casino met with me this morning to try to convince me why they were good for Uniondale. I represent the area from Roosevelt Field Mall all the way down to Bocce. That's all Uniondale. People call it Westbury, Garden City. We're about to file a lawsuit against Amazon over the Westbury store that they put there for Whole Foods because the zoning gave them the right to call themselves Westbury when they're in Uniondale, and we won that resolution, and they did it after the date in which all that went into effect, and to no avail. The town just said, whatever, call yourselves whatever you feel like it. But that just makes it worse in dealing with all the developers and the commercial brokers up there because they call it whatever they feel like it, and then I have to spend all this time explaining that is fucking Uniondale. You know, it's like that money pays for the school district, which has a budget of over $200 million. You cut off any of that funding, that's it. We are the biggest slum in all of Long Island because we will not be able to pay for that. And so for anyone that was concerned about the casino, is they're working really hard to get here, and all I get complaints from all morning long on this issue, which I knew nothing about 2 days ago, is the fact that the casino's making a move, whether true or not, on Gooseby and Kavanza, that they can cut things up however they want so that they can push in a casino that we do not want. We don't want a casino there. That's it. Good night.
Thank you. Miss?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Olga Hernandez, Village of Hempstead, Uniondale School District. Most of what everybody said, I agree with. But one of the things I am is I like to be observant. If I were in a Caucasian neighborhood, there would be 3 microphones here, and people wouldn't be dragging themselves to this spot, okay? That's unconscionable. The wool is, you want to put the wool over our eyes, and I don't say you, I mean the powers that be. But the Village of Hempstead has been pushing for redevelopment, selling our properties and ignoring us. That case is still in court, and ground cannot be broken until it's resolved. By the same token, you look here, you have mainly churches, liquor stores, all the factors that are impressive to keep a community down. They tried to do it with Harlem. Everybody was ghetto Harlem, but when people of color brought Harlem up where their brownstones are worth millions of dollars, the powers that be tried to take it away. That was a big fight. Right now, the powers that be want to keep us at bay, dividing voting districts, making it difficult for minorities to vote. This is like an invisible KKK. And the whole thing is that you think that we are oblivious to what is being given to us when you give us peanuts and you give cashews to other people. I'm sorry, I really disagree with what's going on. If our voices being taken back to them, you not only have to say our words, but you also have to say how we actually feel, our emotions. You're raping us and you don't stop. It's another foot being put on our throats invisibly. That is wrong. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
My name is Susan Kay. I'm from Rockville Center. We talk about the hub. Do you know what the biggest wasteland on the hub is? The Nassau Coliseum. We are spending thousands and thousands of tax dollars for what? For the riptides to play, the nets to play. There is nothing going on there. In 3 to 5 years, that land will be taken over by Northwell or NYU Langone. Thank you.
Good afternoon, family. I call everybody family because I feel that we all are family. My name is Dorothy Brown, and I'm from Roosevelt, and I'm a volunteer firefighter for over 20 years. And I've been through many, many things during this time. And I really didn't come here to talk tonight, seriously, but I couldn't help it. I had to say something because we all are family. I mean, I hope that we be able to get this thing together. I need my glasses. I couldn't even read this. It didn't make sense anyway. So I said, you know what? I forgot the glasses, but when I look up there, I don't need to see anything more, okay? I don't want to be angry. I just want everybody, can't we all just get along just a little bit? Because we all in this together. No matter what happens, we all got to share. If it's good, if it's bad, if it's not. It's like when we go into a fire. When I go into a fire, we are together. I could go across the world. We are together. I was in 9/11. We all was together, black and white. We didn't see any colors. We didn't see no colors because anytime I go into the building, we hoping that everybody be able to go back home. So I would just like to see, let's just all try to get this thing together. It's not about an argument. It's about a little bit of you, a little bit of me, and if we put it all together, hey, we have something going. I've been living in Roosevelt over 35 years. I raised 6 children. I groomed them to don't even worry about what the other one is doing. If you can't help nobody, then shut up. You know, if you can't help nobody, do something. And as I taught my 6 kids, they all graduated from college, except my one son, and we both are mechanics. So that's why we hang, you know what I'm saying? But if we all can just pull it together, man, and stop thinking so much of the evil side, let's just try to get this thing together. We can do it. Actually, the world didn't come together with one color. The world didn't come together with one color. It took 2 to come together. Let's believe this. One of us couldn't do it. We needed the other one. So let's do this. Let's just do this, please.
Thank you. Ms. Thompson, we have certain rules. There'll be other hearings where you'll be able to address the town board, but we're not going to have a case where people are going to keep coming up. So if there's anyone else who hasn't spoken, we'd like to hear from them. We're not going to allow people to yield time. I gave you extra time when you spoke, and you'll get.
I wanted to be responsive to his question because I have particular insight and knowledge having worked in community development.
And your experience and your wealth of wisdom, I respect. You'll get a chance in the future to do that, because if we let you, then we're going to have to let everybody. I can't distinguish. So if you haven't spoken, you're absolutely allowed to speak.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Peggy Perkins, and I'm a resident here in Hempstead, and I'm also a mother of 3 children. I'm also a community activist and leader, and I have to say how this is disgusting. We live in a community where, as a black woman, that I have 2 boys 19, and 17. This is our youth who's supposed to be able to vote, who's supposed to learn how to vote and be involved in their communities. And it's sad that communities like Hempstead are constantly being disrespected, constantly being in the back burner because of racism. As a community activist and leader, it is my responsibility to do my due diligence to serve with people and notify them of what's going on. And it's this very disrespectful of how you guys do not notify. You guys don't do that. You guys don't do that. There should have been many more people in this room. But because of the failure of not involving the community, it's a shame. Like racism, I'm tired. I am tired. I'm tired of explaining to my children what's going on. I'm tired of explaining to other children. I am tired of watching the government constantly keeping us divided when we as a people, we're doing everything that we can to keep us unified. We are demanding for change, and it's now. We want change, and it's not for us to move backwards. We've done all this work. Dr. King's birthday is on Monday. So if you're not going to represent him, do not mention his name. And I'm proud to share his birthday as well. So I stand here today and say, as with everyone who has spoken here, is that this is the time to move forward, not backwards. It is time to take a stand. We could talk about John Lewis, we could talk about all of them, but at the end of the day, if you guys are not going to represent us the way we need to represent, do not sit here in the seats. We are going to eliminate. Because when I sat there and canvassed and knocked on doors, it is sad that when you guys did the redistricting, a lot of people wasn't notified. A lot of potential elected candidates had to start all over. And the constituents were not notified. They didn't know because of your failure of not notifying the community. So as I'm standing here, I'm proud to say that I'm about to be 40 on Monday. Exactly. Yeah, right, I'm only 21. But I have came to almost every meeting, and I'm fed up with the disrespect you have provided to my community, to every community in here. Stand up and do the right thing, because our children are watching. Your children's children are watching. Do what's right. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Joseph Arone, and I live in West Hempstead. My claim to fame is I'm the papu or grandfather of Noah and Sophie, who live in West Hempstead, and I speak on their behalf because they're too young to be able to fight for themselves. I'm here because I want the county of Nassau to be a place for them to grow up that is a beautiful place. And I'm so proud to be with all of these beautiful people here because this is family. And I look at this map and I think of the reign of our former past president and how voter rights have been denied by not allowing people to have mail ballots, long lines in certain states. People were not allowed to vote unless they had crazy identification. They did everything they can to prevent people from voting. We're not doing that here. We're saying, sure, you could vote. We're just going to divide up the area so that your vote is worthless. And we're not going to accept this. So I look at this map here, and the gentleman on top said that the people who designed the map will not even be there to answer questions at the next meeting. And I want to say that if the county paid for them to use their brains to devise this horrendous map, why are they not allowed to defend what they have done? It seems awful strange to me that if this map is such a beautiful design and it's such a great way to divide us up, why aren't there equal amount of people here defending this map? Not one person has been here to say, hey, I love this map. This is great. Isn't that kind of strange? So I leave you, because I am a religious person, and in the Old Testament in Parsha Softim, it says, justice, justice thou shalt pursue. And none of us are going to walk out of here and accept this map. We're going to fight it however we have to. If we have to go to the courts, we will do that. We will fight together because we care about our children, our grandchildren, our community. And thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Darren Velasquez. I am from Westbury. I am a campaigner with New York Communities for Change. One thing I've learned today being here is money does a lot of things. Money makes funny maps. Money makes people wear empty suits. Money makes people angry. And money makes us passionate because we have lack of thereof. I think a lot of people are really pissed off because we're already kind of tired and exhausted at life. We're pretty exhausted at having to work 7 days a week, 8 days a week, 12 days a year, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Excuse my language. But we're all tired, and to make our lives that much worse by making our lives more complicated, that's very dangerous, honestly. You're going to cause people to do things they wouldn't do if they weren't put in that position in the first place. So all I'm really saying is, like, just really think about what you're advocating for and what you're forcing people to be willing to do for themselves and for the people they care about. Like our friend said, we're all family, and we're all willing to do whatever we want for our family. I'm willing to die for my family. I know y'all are probably going to do the same thing, you know, so please take care of my people, please. Like, it's not that hard. It's not that hard. It really isn't, you know, especially like they said, like, I'm relatively young in this room, obviously, you know, and yes, we are. By heart, we are young, but, you know, I really wish there was more representation of my age group here too, but that's not their fault either. Like they said, the information is not out there. I'm only here because I had to look for this information. I had to go with my members and learn from my members about what's going on here, and it's heartbreaking because I grew up in Westbury, you know, I grew up out here, and I had to learn the hard way of what things really are out here, you know, and but it's not too late, you know, things can still change, but unfortunately they only speak one language, and that's money. So like they said, follow the money. If we can find a way to twist the money enough, they will listen. So let's make that happen, y'all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Chairman, I would ask at this time that we make a motion to adjourn.
Yes, I recommend that the board adjourn to Tuesday, 1/17 at 10:30 a.m., when we shall meet in a work session open to the public to consider making a recommendation to the town board on the new district boundaries. And I also recommend we keep the record open to continue receiving comments and make them part of our records.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn, and I'd like to thank the public for their comments.
Seconded. We are adjourned. Thank you.